Good morning, sisters.
Good morning, Father.
All are healthy?
Yes.
Healthy.
Yes, Father.
Happy?
Yes.
Holy? Why total silence? You are holy. Only thing we continue to remain holy and grow holy. So 3 H's is what I said. Human being. The life of a human being can be really beautiful when they are healthy, 1 H, and happy, another H, and holy, another H. And that is what I consider the life of a human being. Human. And the thing is, one can be really happy, only one is holy. Only when I am holy, trying to be holy, that's what I mean. None of us can say we are holy. We are only trying. We are only making efforts. We are on our journey to holiness. So only when one is holy, he or she can be happy. And only when one is happy, you can really say healthy. So it is not so much a matter of physical health, because some can be physically perfectly healthy, but then they are not really happy because they are not holy. So the beautiful saints like Teresa of Child Jesus, Saint Alphonsa, all these show us what it means to be really healthy amidst all their sicknesses, and what it means to be happy. So these 2 saints I admire so much, because Teresa of Child Jesus, my most favorite saint. I love her. In fact, I venerate, I respect all the saints, but no particular devotion to anyone. Well, some have Saint Anthony, all this, very good. As I said, I admire them, and if there is something, to imitate, if something to take to us, something of their virtue, okay. Otherwise, just for the sake of obtaining favors, I need not have devotion. It's good, they help us, but Teresa of Child Jesus, that's what in a person what I admire, what I love the most is innocence. And for me, that is what the most important. And when I see that innocence in someone, I just love and admire. And this is one little saint who is full of innocence. Not only her face, her whole life. And especially in a world, my sisters, where there is so much, so I always speak of guile, malice, crookedness, cunningness. One thing inside, other thing outside. One thing in front, other thing behind. So in such a society, I feel we are called very specially to be men and women of innocence. That's what purity of heart. Purity of heart. And today's gospel proper also speaks of that. Jesus continues to criticize the Pharisees and scribes for their hypocrisy. Maybe we shall reflect later on. And he speaks of you fellows wash the outside of the cup and the dish, and inside it is all unclean. You are full of extortion and wickedness, he says. So that is what very often, unfortunately, there is so much contradiction, dichotomy between external and the internal. And blessed are we when there is harmony between the internal and the external. And that's why I always say, perhaps the greatest compliment which we can receive from Jesus is which he gave to Nathanael. Remember John 1, 47 and the following. Nathanael, behold an Israelite in whom there is no guile, in whom there is no malice, plain-heartedness. And that is what, when I look at your faces, I feel that I see that. Good. So anyhow, my sisters, we are reflecting different things. Do not worry much about the order of points, because we have just 6 days, and so I want to speak to you as much as possible what I believe are important for our life. So it is not a portion to cover, not a syllabus to finish. Okay. So what is important, that's what I share with you. As John towards the end of his gospel says, John 20, chapter 20, 30, 31 says, so I want to say many things, I want to write many things, but if I have to write everything which I want, even the whole world will not contain. So in the same way, I want to speak to you so many things. Recently also, fourth year theology students, pastoral course they are having from morning till supper. It was 2 days marathon sessions. Okay. Then I told them at the end, only 2 days are given to me. But then if time is given, I can speak to you even for 1 week. So that's why, see, very often we are so much worried about the order of points. Surely, I am also very much concerned about, that's what whenever someone speaks or writes, I say, there must be some order, some logicality, some coherence. That's very much needed. But at the same time, when I give so much importance to the order of points, when there is no order of life, what is the use? What is more important is order of life. The order of points must help to make my life pointed life. Points are making me to be made pointed, to be focused. Otherwise, order of points will be there, no order of life. You follow me? Am I speaking something?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Father message.
Please.
Very enriching, very inspiring reflections talk.
Thank you.
Before we begin the new session, the first session itself, we came across a point. When our life is undisturbed, it is worthless life, and we don't get a real peace. Could you please explain a bit what is this positive disturbance?
Okay. Yeah, that is why, thank you, sister, for making your sweet voice be heard by others. Otherwise, you hear only my voice. That is why, if you remember, my sisters, I gave the simple example. Many of us want to be peaceful. So when somebody says something, no, don't tell me all these things. I want to be at peace. I don't want to be disturbed. So that is why I gave the example of graveyard. You remember?
Yes.
So you go to our cemetery. Okay, there is Morning Star Cemetery. I visit every now and then. Okay, to remind myself. Okay, I need to reach there. There means not only this location, somewhere, anyway. So there, so much peace, no disturbance. Why? Because there is no life. There is no life there. There is no challenge there. And that is what many times, as I said, I also gave reference to our prayer before communion. Remember? So the peace and the happiness of Jesus is different from the peace and happiness which the world promises. So the peace of the world, you can say, that is avoidance, that is escaping. Avoidance of any difficulty, any suffering, any risk, any challenge. So that is what the world believes. In fact, towards the end, I wanted to take one session on happiness, but no problem. We say a few things here. So, the world thinks you are happy, you are peaceful, and what it tries to do, it avoids whatever difficulty is there, whatever suffering, risk or challenge. And that way, it is more a happiness and peace which shelters in escaping. And that's why today also in the religious life, many say, okay, perhaps only 20% are really. So we are consecrated people, C, another alphabet C. And this one supposed to be committed, another C, and convinced. But instead of that, it is said, only 20% seem to be really consecrated, committed and convinced, and 80% are compromising and convictive and comfort seeking. The negative C's. And roughly that is what my sisters, negative disturbance and positive disturbance. So positive disturbance means I am ready for any difficulty, any suffering, any risk and any challenge. Because as we know well, any growth consists in struggle, in positive disturbance. Now take the very simple example. I am an angry person. Example, okay. I try to be very gentle, okay. Unless heavens are collapsing, normally I try to. So I have the defect of anger. And then you point it to me. You tell me, Father, that is not nice. Being there a formator and then being a priest, it is not nice. If you can remove that weakness, that will be nice. Of course, I'm not saying perfection of patience or gentleness. I'm only trying. Okay, I tried. So anyhow, if I am really suffering also from that height of anger, and out of your goodness you tell me, Father, it is good that you correct it. Then, when you tell me that, you tell, okay, some good things are there, Father, but then this one, if you think, but then that is disturbing me. Because you give me compliment, you give me appreciation, but then you are telling this is not nice. So, whatever is unpleasant is a disturbance. Whatever is unpleasant disturbs me. Who likes to hear some criticism, tell me? Who likes to receive some correction? So that is what I mean. Positive disturbance means anything, any correction, any advice, any challenge which helps for growth. And that is what you see when you tell me like that. You say I'm angry. I'm patient. So this is called patience. So positive disturbance, that's what I mean. Allowing ourselves to be really challenged. Allowing ourselves to be touched. That's what in the Acts of the Apostles, don't remember exactly. So when Peter, in the beginning chapters only, when Peter began to preach, very powerful expression is there. People were cut to the core. They were cut to the heart. And they asked him, what should we do? And that is what I say, stirring up. I feel stirred within me. Now again, a simple example. So, water is there, and then you throw a stone. What happens? There is some disturbance, is it not? So, that is what exactly. Whenever I hear something good, and when I am insincere, when I hear something about sincerity, or when you challenge me to be sincere, then I feel disturbed. Or at least I must feel disturbed if I have only a little clear conscience. And the whole problem is, as I said, many of us do not change because we do not want to be challenged. And that challenge comes only when I feel disturbed. And that disturbance can come only when I am humble and open. Otherwise, as I said, you correct me for something, and many times what will be the reaction? Either we argue back, or we become more stubborn, or we try to show what are the defects of others. Oh, you are telling me about patience, you are telling me about hard work, I know about you. This is what many times. That's what good number of the times the superiors and the juniors also share with me. Of course, still few years back it is said, parish priests used to be very problematic, not treating their assistants properly. So in the same way, superiors used to be big burdens for the members, for the juniors. But it is said now, since few years, it is the other way. And that's why some of the parish priests, they share with me, Father, I wish not to have assistants. Because, as I said, the scene is reversed now. And in the same way, these days, of course, I am not generalizing, it may be easier to be a member than to be a superior. The times have changed. Some of the members are pawns. They are threats. That's what a superior corrects a junior. It is good that you are punctual for prayer. Especially in the beginning years, we need to be grown in God. You are telling me how many times you are absent, you tell this pain, that pain. She is telling me what I must do, what I must correct. Why should you bother about what she is doing? Just because she does not pray, does it mean I should not pray? And this is the typical mentality, justifying mentality. I justify my wrongs because others are doing wrong. And that's what you ask sometimes the young priests also. If you tell them, my dears, okay, all of us are imperfect and weak, but at least we shall try to be a little more sincere, a little more devout, a little more committed. What, Father? Speaking like old fellow, all old spirituality. Be realistic, Father. Show me how many are sincere, how many are devout, how many are committed. What is your problem, man? Just because many are not committed, does it mean I should not be committed? Just because many are manipulating and corrupt, maybe amassing lakhs and crores, does it mean I should also be corrupt and manipulating? Tomorrow when I stand before God, when He asks me why you were not responsible, why you are not transparent, accountable, if I say, no, in my congregation, in my province, 60% are not good, God will ask me, turn, and then He will give a kick on my back. This is the typical mentality, a mentality of majoritarianism, which decides the rightness or the wrongness of an action. If majority says it is right, even the wrong becomes right. If the majority says it is wrong, even the right becomes wrong. That is not. And unfortunately, miserably, in our election processes, in our transfers, in appointments, all these majoritarians. And that is why, my sisters, when I say we need a reorientation, I mean this. There is so much garbage, we should throw it off. So many ideas and concepts, wrong concepts, we must get rid of them. We must think clearly, see clearly, speak clearly, decide clearly, and then automatically we will act clearly and rightly. Otherwise, so much unneeded, wrong stuff is there within me, and then whatever I try to load myself newly also, it will just become added to that. That's all. Unless I clean up first of all that rubbish in me, what is good, what is fresh can really remain fresh. Otherwise, I put 5% of very fresh material and 90% all rubbish is there. What happens in course of time? This 10% also becomes rubbish. And that is the whole problem with us. So, you see no sister? That in course of time we shall. So positive disturbance, that's what. You see, for example, again I tell you, some years back, okay, in my responsibility, I was going around meeting the communities, provincials and then other conferences. So I was just speaking to them. When I speak, sometimes I speak frankly and straight. So I was telling, that was the time of elections. So some came to know, some were mobilizing, trying to canvass, telling that don't vote for this one, vote for this one, he is our man, all that. So I told them very clearly in a meeting of some 15 conference, apostolic community. I said, this is not the right thing. Everyone has the conscience. Everyone knows who is what. And therefore, why should you tell the other? Why should you influence the other? So one fellow got up and said, Father, what is wrong in that? What is wrong in that? I like that fellow. I consider him as my fellow. And therefore, I propagate for him. So, when we reach such a stage, and that's what, as I said recently also, when I saw 2-3 fellows were going around to everyone and saying, vote for me, please all. Then I asked, where we are going? So one fellow straight again, he said, what is wrong there, Father? Outside politicians also, they are telling, vote for me, and here also, what is... So, when we reach such a stage, God the Father also cannot do anything. That's what I always say, doing wrong is one thing, and not feeling it is wrong and justifying it as right is another thing. And that is the worst part of our story. Doing the wrong and not realizing it is wrong and even justifying the wrong as right. And that's why we need to wake up. So you understood these 3 C's, compromising, of course, false values, all that. And then comfort seeking. Nobody asked me about convicting. Okay, many people. That's what I also tell my brothers. You use, Father, words, no problem. And we need not understand all the words. After all, my salvation is not lost. That's what many think. Even if I don't understand this word, salvation is not lost. Okay, it is not lost. But at least it can be helped. It can help for salvation. So, that's what interesting are some fellows. Okay, since fathers insist for the sake of improving the language, you read the newspaper or you read some other good books. The fellow starts reading the newspaper and he will leave out all the words which he does not understand. What is the purpose of reading? So, you understand, sister? You understand, sister? That's what. Whenever I speak in general, people are peaceful. When I look straight at somebody, okay. And that is what sometimes when I look at people, they do not realize I am looking at them. That's the problem. Many times it happens when I look at somebody, when I ask somebody something, usually the behind person will answer. And I always ask myself, do I have any eye problem? I don't have any squint eye. And then this is how I think. See, usually, if you just think, many times we look not straight. We look sideways, highways, or downways. We don't look straight at the persons. But normally, I try to look straight at the person. I look straight into the eyes of the person. And so what happens when I look at you, then you feel I am looking through you. And therefore, when I look at this one, then she feels I am looking at her. Okay, we continue. today, my sisters, there is a great crisis. So last night, if you remember, we spoke about live Jesus, and that one we can say actually the whole motto of our life. The whole motto of our life is live Jesus, and for that we said that means love Jesus, live with Jesus, live for Jesus. Okay. And now, if it is so, then why there is so much crisis? So, in contrast to this, very often we find so much crisis. And crisis in what? Crisis especially in our effectivity. And that is what, my sisters, you see, our pioneers, our seniors, our early sisters or missionaries, they did not have this many talents. They did not have this much knowledge. They did not have this many equipments, the modern facilities, gadgets, means of communication or means of transportation, skills, talents, okay, PowerPoint, okay, Excel, all that. Okay. That's what, whenever I go for some talk or retreat or classes, so this is one thing they ask, okay, Father, any PowerPoint? I say, no PowerPoint, only word power. Yes, unless it is very, very needed, I don't go for those things. Can be good, but then sometimes I also feel they become substitutes instead of supports. Anyhow, there is another thing. So, without any of these talents or skills or knowledge or competence or resources, still they were able to touch hundreds and thousands. They were able to make a difference in the life of many. People felt touched, people felt inspired, people felt to be changed. And today, with all our knowledge and skill and competence, why is it we are not able to touch many? Why we are not able to make some difference in the lives of some? Why is it thousands and thousands get out of our schools, and the very same fellows who study in our schools, they become hostile and they become enemies to us? Why is it very often those who are under our care for some time only do not appreciate us? So why we are not effective? And that because the main reason is because that credibility is at stake. The credibility is not adequate. People do not believe us so much for what we say. Credibility is not there. What does it mean? You understand? Suppose I am a fellow who is so much attached to money, and then I go and preach to the people. You see, we should be totally detached from money. And then, suppose if I am a man fighting with my companions or with my assistant or with my superior, no unity, so much spirit of discrimination, so much partiality, so much revengeful attitude, and then I go and I preach powerfully to the people. I hear there are some divisions among you, there must be unity. Just as there is unity among the limbs of the body, people, will they take me seriously? And that is the problem today, my sisters. That is the problem. Credibility is shaking. And that's what, if I say so much, I take the vow of poverty, and if I roll in property, I say I profess chastity and I practice vigorously unchastity. I claim that I profess obedience and I actively practice disobedience and rebellion. What kind of credibility people will have about me? And that's why today, my sisters, people are not fools. They are worldly wise. They are smarter. They will not be easily mesmerized by our words, however eloquent, however rhetorical they are. They see life. Of course, as I always say, we are not perfect, but then they see how sincere we are and how with determination we struggle. That is what they see. The sincerity to struggle. Is this priest, is this sister really struggling sincerely to grow? Because only in struggle there is life, only in struggle there is growth. So, there is a crisis in effectiveness, crisis in credibility, and that because I think basically there is a crisis in our identity. I am not sure and I am not clear who am I. That is the problem. Of course, you may say, what? I am clear I am sister, I am clear I am priest. Hello, that any goose can sing. That is not, but what do I mean, what do I understand by being a religious, by being a priest? That is what. How do you understand, how do I understand my priesthood, my consecration? So, this is what I call crisis in effectiveness, crisis in credibility, and a crisis in identity. So, who am I? The whole problem revolves around this. So, from here, I take you to Pope Francis. Of course, some of you might have met him, I do not know. Because Italian, your Italian origins. I had the grace to meet him, but I had the grace to meet John Paul II. So I have also photos with him, John Paul II. So I can say afterwards, I met a saint. So, in this connection, Pope Francis speaks something about identity. Does anyone remember anything? Oh, Pope Francis, Father, he said so many things. So what can we say, Father? That's what. When you ask some people, okay, can you say something about this Thomas Aquinas or someone else? Then they say, Father, he wrote so many things, he said so many things. What to say? You say at least something. So interesting, recently I conducted, mostly I go for written exams. Oral exams many professors may prefer. But then oral exams I normally do not take, because when I sit and listen to the wisdom and the revelation, sometimes you may fall into convulsion, wondering at the fellow's wisdom. So that's what I gave the objective type questions. philosophy of God. I teach some 8-9 subjects, both sides, philosophy and Bible, theology. So, one question I gave, who are they? I mean, one section, one sentence or 2 sentences, one each mark. So, who are they? Which means, what is their contribution, or what did they contribute to the philosophy or concept of God? So that way, Anselm, Thomas Aquinas, Augustine, all these people, they contributed something to the understanding of God. So that is what I mean. So I gave, okay, who are they? Their contribution. Anselm, Aquinas, Augustine. So one fellow writes, Anselm is a great saint. Great saint. And then he was very much pious. Or a fellow who wants those things. What did they contribute to the philosophy of God? Because they gave certain arguments, okay, how you can prove the existence of God. Those things are needed. And not, he's a great saint, he was born in that city, he had very difficult childhood. Who wants that? So that's what sometimes fellows. And then I gave one in Latin, and the question was very clearly, what do you mean by these statements? Then I gave Fides Quaerens Intellectum by Saint Bonaventure. So faith and reason, they must be balanced. So one fellow comes and asks me, Father, what is the meaning of this? This is not English. And I am asking you, that is the question, and you are coming and asking me. And some other fellows, Father, can you tell the answer? I am conducting the exam and you are coming and asking me, Father, answer for this. So, that's why sometimes you have fun also. Only thing you cannot say some things outside also. That's what then Jesus said, that's what sometimes purposely I give the questions. That's what I asked somebody. Hey, how is the question, man? So normally I try to make it very simple. But then as I already said, people think complicated with it. So one fellow said, very interesting, he said, questions are very simple and easy, Father. Answers are difficult. And in the theology exams, you can see sometimes the height of the thinking. So I said, I gave in the exam St. John's Gospel. Okay, Jesus said, I am the vine, and you are the branches. So the section was true or false. Okay, tell whether it is true or false. Many fellows write true. What true? This is wine. I am the wine and you are the, how can it be? That is the other wine. Fellows freely write true. And some other fellows, more intelligent fellow, Father, I think this is spelling mistake. So I can't say, go and write. I used to say. Spelling mistake. So Pope Francis, in this connection, what did he say? If anyone remembers, he said 3 things, and this is one thing. If anybody is able to say all the 3 things, 10 minutes before only I leave you free. Some may know, but then they do not want to go. That's why they may not say. Sister, you know? Yeah, okay. So speaking very directly about religious life and saying why there is no joy in religious life. He says religious life is a call to be joyful, no doubt about it. We are called to be joyful religious. But then he says a good number of the religious are joyless. They look very tired and tired religious, he says. Tired religious. That is what we find. Some are retired, but they are not tired. And some are not retired, but already they are tired. So tired religious, exhausted religious, there is no joy in their life. So that is what he says. A religious life which is supposed to be joyful, and the religious who are supposed to be joyful, many times it is found to be joyless. And he gives three main reasons why there is no joy in religious life. Yes, sister. Vows. Gossip. Yeah, those things maybe I will refer if the time permits. That one he speaks more as the sicknesses or the ailments. Okay. He gives almost some 17-20 sicknesses with which all of us suffer. Sickness of gossip, sickness of spiritual schizophrenia, okay, Alzheimer's, okay, sickness of indifference, all those things maybe we shall refer if time permits. That is different. And this one, in this context, okay, I shall not, because as I know, some of you also may be practicing that humility and charity. Okay. He must increase and we must decrease. That's what sometimes the students, even if they know the answer, they will not tell the answer because the teacher may feel his chance is taken away. So that's why even though the answer is kicking out, they suppress it and they practice humility. No, sister. So, what is the first thing? Heightened individualism. And the second, crisis of identity, crisis in identity. So as I said, and then so he gives these three reasons as the reasons for the joylessness of religious life. Heightened individualism, crisis of identity, and cooling of fervor. We will take it up maybe in the context of community life. So I will not speak much, but just very passingly. You see, his words are very much measured, and that is what I also always prefer, to measure, to really use the words which are needed and which make sense. Heightened individualism. So height of individualism, that means you have reached the peak. Not little individualism, not little selfishness, but height of selfishness, height of self-centrism. It's what we call egoism, selfishness. So that is one main reason why there is no joy in our religious life. Very, very true. Very, very true, my sisters. That's what I don't know whether I told. If you ask me, what is one main reason for the loss of joy or the loss of beauty or the loss of value or the loss of meaning of religious life, I say it is nothing but ego. Most of our problems in our religious community life, in our ministry life, most of the problems are ego clashes. That's all. Ego conflicts. I am the superior. I am the principal. I am the administrator. This I sickness. And that is what, as I say, the whole life is a struggle between two eyes. Not these two eyes. And all of us suffer from eye sickness and eye sickness. Only degrees are different. Some might have reached PhD degree in egoism, in eye sickness, and some others may be at the level of novitiate or beginning years or silver jubilee. That's what you see. When I am full of myself, how can God's grace enter into me? And how can the goodness of others make an impact on me? A glass which is already full cannot be filled anymore. That is the whole problem. I am full of my ego, my false self, my self-arrogance, my self-glory, my self-projection, ego projection, ego promotion. And then how can God's grace enter inside? And how can your goodness enter inside? So, eye sickness. And because of this eye sickness, there is this problem of sight. I cannot see God clearly. I cannot see the other clearly. And I cannot see my own self clearly. So, whole problem of sight. So, heightened individualism. That's what, as I see, people are getting more and more blown up with this ego. And that's why you find everywhere clashes and clashes. And that's why I still remember once I went to one province and for their chapter, a lot of serious discussion was there. So they were saying, it is not nice, the same person has 3-4 offices, responsibilities, 3-4 posts. So, the superior must be one, the principal must be one, the procurator must be one. So they were saying. So, lot of discussion. And then, okay, so they separated. Superior and parish priest is one. Principal is one, and money matters procurator bursar is one. And then I happened to go again for their next chapter. After 3 years, I was present. And then lot of heated discussion. No, this is not nice. So many conflicts are coming. It is good that one man only manages 2-3 things. Because conflicts are there between the parish priest and the superior and the principal. And then conflicts between the principal and the bursar. Therefore, in order to avoid the problems, make only one fellow in charge of 2-3 things. 3 years back like that, and now like this. Okay, sometimes we can change the things according to the need. But the point is, I asked them, you were the fellows who were ferociously fighting for distribution, sharing of responsibilities and all that. And now, what is your criterion to club them together, to make them concentrated in one person? You are arguing because there are practical problems. You are arguing because you cannot manage. So which means, instead of, as I was speaking with you, instead of checking and correcting what is wrong, the wrong is we are not able to adjust, we are not able to accept, we are not able to respect, we are not able to cooperate, we are not able to work in collaboration and coordination, we are not able to work as a team, and therefore, because instead of striking at this ego, you want to again just manage the show by again bringing back. So throwing away that principle. That time you said, this is not good. One monopolizes the whole things. We should learn how to share our responsibilities. We should know how to work as a team and all that. And now, because your ego is blowing up, and you want to make it together. So that's why many times, my sisters, we do not want to really address the real problems, and we just want to manage the show. Manage the show. So, that's why today, what is happening? Because of this individualism, there are some perpetual loners. They do not want, of course, your case is different, but mostly we priests. Okay. We also insist on community life, but then sometimes, okay, because of the mission work, only one priest is there. And recently also the point came up. Okay. Some are perpetual loners, which means lifelong they live alone. And then what happens? Continuously 4 or 5 appointments, the fellow is put alone, and the fellow is not able to live in community. The fellow loses the spirit of community. That's what I call perpetual loners. And therefore, sooner or later, they also turn to be perpetual loners. Means those who lament, those who mourn. Mourners. So they live single and they cannot live with others. They cannot adjust with others. And that recently we said, that is a very, very wrong thing. And why today at least a few priests are getting addicted to unnecessary things, be it to drink, be it to money, be it to position, be it to unnecessary relationships or the sexual attachments. Why? At least few priests are getting addicted to this. Maybe we are losing that real spirit of religious life. And that's what it is not. And very interestingly, getting addicted to drink or money or craving for position, or these tendencies are increasing among the youngsters. And they seem to be the kingmakers now. You understand? So they were going around actively this time. saying vote for this, don't vote for this, all that. So, as I said, this is one main reason why the religious life seems to be a great burden, a pain. In the case of many, it is becoming a pain and a burden. And that's why in that context, our venerable patron, Saint Francis de Sales, says, some are very polite, and we shall speak in the context of community life also, but here, some are very polite and courteous to the strangers and to the outsiders or to the guests. I'm just giving the idea, not exact words. So some are saints to the strangers, but then they are small devils towards the insiders, towards their own companions. And that is very true. And that's what I know also some of our priests, they are so much appreciated. Oh, fantastic priest. They are appreciated by the sisters or maybe some families. Our Father is wonderful. He gives us whatever we want and He makes His gadi ready whenever we want, midnight or any time. He always gives us so many things. He is ever available. That fellow is never available for his community or the members. He is never patient and gentle towards others. So, what I mean is, some are very saintly to the outsiders, but they are devils with their own companions. One cannot be substitute for the other. So, individualism, we shall speak of it more. And then crisis in identity, crisis of identity. As I already said, who am I? And if I am a priest, if I am a religious, what makes me what I am? So I shall speak of it more at length. I will speak about the false identities and about the real, true identity. But this is one big crisis. Today I am not sure, yes, I am priest, but then what it means to be a priest? What it means to be living a priestly life? What it means to be living a religious, consecrated life? And I give you already hint. If I behave, if I safeguard the interests of an Andrite, if I am trying to protect only the interests of my Andhra people, can I say I am really living my identity? And that is what already you can get the hint. People are living false identities in the name of caste, in the name of region, in the name of language, in the name of tribe, in the name of culture, in the name of right, in the name of status, in the name of power, position. These are all false identities. So, when I am not clear what exactly is my identity, then I seek false identities. And as long as I seek and live false identity, my true identity is blurred. My true identity diminishes. And cooling of fervor, what does it mean? That's what I asked one fellow. Cooling of fervor means, no, Father. See, when it is very hot, we use fan, we use sometimes AC. cooling farmer. And when you hear such answer, your cool will go off. Cooling of fervor means what? Decrease, okay? Decline of fervor. And that's what today you say. You see, the fervor, the zeal, the enthusiasm is decreasing. Instead, you find lot of mediocrity. Lot of mediocrity, lot of lukewarmness. So this is what you find today. Religious life, priestly life suffers so much from this. Suffers from mediocrity, suffers from lukewarmness, suffers from lack of interest. I'm not interested in the life, in the real duties of life, because some other interests take away my real interest. So, 3 reasons we shall continue later.
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.